Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Welcome back. So today we're going to work on a Penn 550 SSG, which is shielded spool graphite. It's an iteration of the popular 500 series. It's a nice reel. This one's been laying on the beach. There's a lot of sand on here. There's a lot of corrosion in that. This one's just not been maintained well. However, the fellow brought it in with a bunch of reels and asked me to see what I could do to make it good for the season. So that's what we're going to get started on. It'll be a basic maintenance procedures and some cleanup in here as well. So we start by disassembling the reel, and to do that I start with taking the spool assembly off. That's reversing the drag knob on the reel counterclockwise, and that comes off relatively easily. Then we want to remove the handle, and the handle is a backwards, again clockwise this time, turn to remove that. These reels are nice, they're very durable. This one, like I said, it probably hasn't been taken care of as well as it should have, so we'll do some basic cleaning on this one, and then we'll go inside and make sure it's lubed. Okay, so once we have the spool assembly off and the handle off, we can take the 4 side plate screws out. And this is a good time to tell you that if you don't know what's inside a reel, it's always a good idea to wear some latex gloves or some other product on your hands just to keep the contaminants away from you. I try to do that on my non-working hand, so I leave it on my left-hand side. I'm going to take that off with a flat-headed screwdriver, and also to tell you at this point in time that I use a parts bucket to put all my parts in, so I know where to find them when I go to reassemble the reels. I've been doing reels for about 20 years now, and I decided to share my experiences with you on the YouTube channel. So you'll see most of the stuff that comes across my desk. And folks ask, which ones do I select? Well, right as of now, I've been kind of selecting all of them. If there's redundant ones, for example, somebody brought in 4 Shimano Sustains the other day. Well, I didn't need to do 4 videos on that. I just did the one. But for the most part, I get a backlog now, particularly as everybody's getting ready for the season. And with the season coming up, I usually get all the reels that they're going to fish. So along with this one, I've got a Finor Ahab, I've got an Akuma bait feeder Avenger, and I've got a Shimano Stratic that I'm going to work on as well. Okay, so this is the inner workings. Very simple. That's why these reels don't break. First thing you want to do is make sure it's cleaned. In this case, the outside looks worse than the inside, but there is an accumulation of some grease on the main drive. So I'm going to take that off. Take the grease off here as well. We'll re-lube that in a moment. There's bearings. There's 2 bearings, one on each side here. We're going to make sure that they get lubricated. I lubricate bearings with oil, and I use Reelex as the oil that I prefer for the bearings. And I use blue grease, as you'll see in the background there, the Penn blue grease. I use that for moving parts like this crosswind gear here. So right now, before I get ahead of myself, I'm just going to go make sure that those 2 lower bearings are lubed. And then we're going to go remove this shaft assembly here so that we can get access to the back portion of this. To remove that main shaft assembly, it's a tie bar that comes across here on the crosswind block. It's held in together by 2 small screws. This is also a good time to tell you, if you don't do this frequently, take pictures along the way so that when it comes time to reassemble, if you have a question about where did that screw go or what side of the plate was facing out or so on, you can refer back to your pictures, and it makes it a lot easier and a lot more stress-free along the way. Okay, so I've just pulled that out. This comes off with a little help. Looks like this one could have been oiled a little bit better there. There we go. That's the bar that holds it to the crosswind gear. And once you have that out, you can pull that up through the main gear assembly, and that enables us to lube the back workings of this reel, which is the crosswind block. and the crosswind gear. Those of you that have watched my videos in the past know that I've shown you how to set up a workbench so that you have all of the tools you need at hand, and that makes the maintenance go a little bit easier so that you don't have to put the reels down. Okay, I'm just cleaning that up. There's very limited contamination and junk in this reel, so I'm just making sure that we have all of that clean. Again, for the moving parts I use a blue grease. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this gets the appropriate amount of grease on there. Not a lot, just enough. Make sure that the teeth have some grease on it as well. And while you're doing this, it's a good idea to check the teeth. Make sure that all the teeth are there, not missing, and that they're not chipped or cracked in any way. So once I have that, I can reset this. And I'm just going to let that go for a moment as we move up top to this, because I want to get to the bearing and the main drive on this. So again, it's always a good idea to keep a lot of wrenches with you. You're never quite certain which wrench is going to work, since I use a variety of reels. In this case, this one's a 9/16 wrench up top. Comes off in a traditional fashion. It's a right threaded nut. Once I have that nut off, I can pull the top assembly off, gain my access to that bearing which I want to lubricate. So once I do that, I'm just drop of grease. We're going to button that right back up again. Now if you needed to replace this, either the anti-reverse gear, or if you needed to replace the main drive, these 3 screws would come off to do that. In this case, this has been cleaned, so I'm not going to do that. I don't need to replace this. And right back on with this nut. Tighten it up, and then we can go to the bottom and make sure that that's done appropriately as well. Okay, so that goes back on here. Now we're just kind of reversing the steps. We had the crosswind block. I'm going to put a little blue grease on this, the main drive as well. Okay, so we're lined up there. Next, what we want to do, we've inspected this reel. We've made sure that all of the teeth are uniform, that there's no chipped teeth. We're doing that both on the drive side gear as well as the one that operates the crosswind, which makes the spool go up and down. They're all in good stead. We're going to go put that back in, and then we can put the main shaft back in. So I like to just wipe down that main shaft. I use a paper towel to do that. Just get the accumulated stuff that may have been over time, some dried grease and the like. I'll put a drop of oil on this as we come through here. We're going to seat that main shaft, and then we're going to put that little metal plate across it, which was a little bit difficult to get off before. Not as difficult to get back in. I use a little pin to align holes when needed. In this case, this not only is going to align the hole, but it's going to hold it so that I can get the first screw in there. You remember we had the 2 small screws, and then this is where you got to bear with me because I have some trouble with small parts from time to time. And we're going to get that in there in just a moment. There we go, that's the first one. Tighten that down. Then I can pull the pin will pull by itself. We can put the second one in. Tighten that one down. Now our crosswind assemblies and everything are done. Last thing I'm going to do here is just put a little bit of blue grease on the outside of the main drive. We can then, we've already oiled the bearing on this side plate, so we're going to put this back. Snaps in place. Just give it a quick ride to make sure it's working properly. It is. Put the 4 side screws in. Now it's cleaning time. So I use a general degreaser I use what's called a Purple Power. It's available in automotive stores. It's available at Walmart. It's available online, multiple places. It's a concentrated degreaser, and it takes an awful lot of stuff off, including the dirt and grime that you see on this reel. It's good for fish scales. It's good for grease. It's good for general dirt and grime. So I would tell you, if you're going to do a lot of reels, invest in something like this. It's not expensive, a couple of dollars maybe, but it certainly makes the elbow grease part of this routine easier. This is the Purple Power that I use, and simply a squirt or two throughout the reel. I should have a glove on my other hand now because I'm going to use a scrubby pad. I use kitchen scrubby pads that you would typically use on a pot and a pan. They're non-marring, but they have enough abrasive to it that they can loosen up some of that grease and grime. And it doesn't take much because this is a pretty powerful concentrated degreaser, so you really just got to go through the motions of scrubbing it up, and I think we did well. And then you just wipe it off with a paper towel, and it doesn't even look like it's been sitting in the sand. So I was surprised with this one, quite honestly. I thought I'd find more sand inside. I didn't. Maybe that's part of this design of the reel, but regardless, it's never a good idea to lay a reel directly on the beach, and we'll just give the guy some grief over that later when he comes to pick up the reel. Okay, and then as I mentioned, I do put a drop of oil on that spool shaft once I have the shaft reinstalled. We'll put the handle back on. The handle is a normal wind now. Give it a test drive again. Operating nicely. Now we'll turn our attention to the spool and make sure that we have the drags done properly. So the spool has got a little C-clip in it that's held in. There's a little groove there. When you take that out, you want to use a pin, a toothpick, something that you can get behind to take the tension off the spring. In this case, I use a pin, and as you'll notice, I keep my finger over this thing. This is a spring. So as you pull it out, it has a tendency to shoot from time to time, and that rides in a groove. So we'll put that into my parts bucket so I know where to find it. And then there's usually 6 or 7 drags in the Penn system. In this case, they're all in there. They're all in good condition. I like to lubricate drags. These drags are fabric drags, so I use Cal's lube grease for that. Just a little bit on each side keeps them flexible. Just to butter them up a little bit on each side. And it'll go fabric, which is, I got one in here that's fabric. Metal. So there's fabric, metal, fabric that we just buttered up. The middle one in this case is not an eared washer, but it is square, so it doesn't move, but that goes in the middle. For a moment here, I'm off track a little bit. Okay, fabric. We go metal with the middle piece. Fabric. Last one. And we remove that C-clip again. We put that into the groove on the one side. Again, hold it because it can shoot. Okay, and then we'll reinstall it. And again, the top has got dirt and grime on it, so a quick shot of this Purple Power, keep it off the drags, keep it on the reel off the drags kind of a thing, just to clean that up. Finish it with a paper towel, restore that nicely. Throw that back on our reel. This top also is got a lot of grime on it, so we'll hit that one time. This one I don't even think I need the paper towel for. I think I don't need the scrubby, just the paper towel will take all that dirt off. Okay, and then we put this back on. So, like I mentioned, I'm doing this one going on about a little bit over 20 years now. I've been doing the maintenance of fishing reels. I've pretty much seen them all. I do what comes across my desk, so whatever my customers bring in, I tend to be able to do. If you like these, please indicate the video that you like it. If you want to see more of these, subscribe to my channel, and you'll see the ones that I'm working on my desk, and hopefully you'll learn something. So this is a nice reel. It retails probably around $100, maybe a little bit more. Simple in approach. There's more complicated reels out there, but this is a workhorse. It'll get it done, and if you properly maintain them like we just did, they'll last you for a lot of seasons to come. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments or questions, please ask them. I answer them all. Again, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for viewing the video.